Hello everybody, welcome to number 27, I'm Jack. Now just imagine that if you were to receive an email from somebody saying, hello there, how you doing? I know you've been thinking about going to V12 Ferrari. I happen to have a Ferrari 550 that I'm willing to sell for £40,000. What? A Ferrari 550? An incredible seminal Ferrari V12 for £40,000 and it's available to me? What's the catch? What's going on? What's going on with this car? So that happened to me. Andrew sent me an email a few days ago. As soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, I absolutely have to go and see this car. So I'm on my way now to have a look at this 550 and we'll have a look around. We'll find out what the story, there's got to be a story with it. And see what kind of car it is. Is it a bad story? Is it going to make it not worth buying? For that kind of money, for a 550, my God, it's got to be worth buying, I think. Anyway, let's see what we find. So here we are with an absolutely fantastic looking Ferrari 550 Maranello in the perfect sort of Ferrari red. I'm sure you agree, it looks absolutely amazing. Now the cheapest one of these that I could find on the classifieds as of now was £75,000. So why is this car so cheap, £40,000? Well, it's not the mileage. I think the mileage is around 60, 65, maybe a little bit higher than that, but not very much. So that's not the issue. Maybe if we take a closer look, we'll get some sort of hints about what is going on and why this car was offered to me quite so cheaply. All looks nice and straight. The alloys, those magnesium alloys, by the way, look pretty good. This side of the car is looking great. Honestly, the lines on these 550s are just absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's a bad angle on them. Even the back is just that back. Oh, look at that. They took inspiration from some of the earlier Ferrari Grand Tourers. They Daytona, they say, but I think it goes back to even earlier cars than that. So on this side, a little bit of a hint here because this corner has a little bit of cracking and stuff. So I think there might be, I don't know, some paint reaction or maybe some filler there. But otherwise, still looking pretty good. A little notch there on the door, a little bit of fade in the paint, but on the whole, considering the price, certainly pretty good. Let's take a look at the interior. So those seats look fab, just the right amount of cracking and patina, which is what you'd want in a Ferrari Grand Tourer like this, but pretty good. Little bit of wear on the switches there, on the ashtray, but not very much. A little bit of chipping. Actually, doesn't seem to be suffering from that dreaded Ferrari droop that the switchgear got at this era. It's either been cleaned up or this one just hasn't been affected for some reason. But now where there is a bit of an issue is with the airbag cover there and also the dashboard. Now the leather, it does do that on these, sir, has all sort of crinkled and moved. This isn't actually, this is a pad to cover up, I think, some of the worst wrinkling on there. And I think the owner, Andrew, told me, obviously, he's looked into it, they can be recovered, but that's the worst bit of the interior. That instrumentation is still great, look at that. Look at that, the gear change. Oh, it all looks great. So first indications really are pretty good. It looks amazing. Yes, it has some sort of bits of wear and bits that need attention cosmetically, but it's not really looking that bad at all considering the price. I think what we're going to have to do is take it out for a run and I can tell you more because there is a really interesting backstory to this car. Not just that, but I want to see how a 40k 550 actually drives. So how does this £40,000 V12 Ferrari actually drive? Now normally, if you're talking about the cheapest V12s, you're probably looking at the 400 series. And even now, you'd get a pretty crummy 400 for £40,000. The good ones are more than that. So the fact that this is so cheap is just unbelievable. So, does it drive like a bag of nails? Well, first impressions, sit in there, the seats are comfortable, the driving position on these is just fantastic. It is nigh on perfect. Ferrari really sorted things out by this time. Wheels exactly where you want it. You've got the right you're reclined in the right way. You've got a great view out. And generally there's a few little rattles coming from the interior, definitely. And as I said, that leather, it's a shame that it's the sun has done its job on that, because otherwise the interior is really not that bad. It's tractable, it sounds good. The clutch is pretty smooth, so there's no sort of knocks and bangs. I've driven it over to this venue, so I've driven it already a little bit, and the suspension feels pretty tight, pretty good. There's some sort of silly shooting birds up there. I don't know what those are, partridges or something maybe. But anyway, it's good, it sounds good. The other thing, and take note, JM, who is my friend and has a really nice 550 that he has lavished attention and money on, that this actually sounds like a V12 550 because it has, I think, a Nuvolari exhaust. So you can actually hear that absolutely fabulous engine. Unlike on James's car, which I know is very original and very nice, but honestly, mate, you've got to do something about that exhaust. So far, all pretty good. Now, I noticed earlier the wipers only go on one speed, and Andrew did tell me that there was some stuff going on there. Also, the brake pedal does have a very long reach, unnaturally long, and we believe that that is due to a bit of air in the system, because he had a bit of trouble with the ABS at one point, and basically he hasn't had time to bleed it. So there is a lot of travel on the pedal, but then it does seem to work once you eventually sort of hit some resistance. Sounds glorious. The steering is great, feels tight on these. It's good, actually. It really is perfectly judged. It's quite quick for a big tourer, but it does work. Put your foot down. Oh, and a little bit of loss of traction there, but the engine is creamy smooth. The gearbox is fab. It is brilliant. Oh, what a lovely thing. I can't believe this is £40,000. So the reason why it is so cheap, and I have to tell you, is this car does have quite a bit of well, it has a few stories, quite frankly, let's be honest. It's more than one. So originally it was a Cat C. It was sort of side-swiped on the passenger side, which is where I showed you earlier. No, it's on the driver's side. Where I showed you earlier, there was the issues with that rear quarter with a bit of cracking on there. So it was sort of side-swiped, but it wasn't structural damage. I don't know why it was a Cat C. You can sort of see the pictures there from the original damage. And Andrew, who has it now, bought it at the time, I think, for $34,000. At the time, they were probably going for... In those days, these were going for about sort of 60, 70, so it was about half price. And it had been fixed, not perfectly, Andrew says, but still sort of good enough, really. So it looked pretty good from a distance. If you look close up, there was a few little issues with the way the repair job was done, but I think you'll agree, a real bargain. And in those years, Andrew has really only done very limited things. The aircon doesn't work, and he hasn't fixed that yet. He had a problem, I think, with the immobilizer, but I'll say why that happened in a moment. I think one of the thermocouples went, and a few other little bits, but generally it's really just been sort of pretty much standard maintenance. Let's just open it up slightly here because it's worth it. Get a bit of a gap. Just so effortless these. They are just incredible. They really are. There we go with the wipers. So I've just parked up here so I can explain some more, because something else happened to this car actually, which in a way was quite a bad thing, but turned out to be a really good thing. So on top of its Cat C rating, once Andrew had had it for a few years, he'd moved into a new place. It was a barn project that he was doing up, and there was a flash flood, and the whole yard where this car, other car was, equipment was, were completely flooded. You can see the pictures here. So it wasn't actually that much water, but it was enough water to come down into the footwell. Now, he had already moved the ECU because they are prone for where they are on the passenger side footwell. If there is any water ingress in these, which tends to happen, that was already moved, so that wasn't damaged. However, the immobilizer did get some moisture into it. As a result, the insurance company wrote the car off. The value they wrote it off for was £84,000. Now remember, he'd only paid 34 for this car. And he then didn't want it to be written off, so he wanted to buy it back. So it was then bought back, I think for 24 they charged him. So at the end of the day, it turns out that this 550 actually put Andrew £28,000 in profit, and he still has it. Now, as you can see from the way we've seen it, mechanically it's a good car, but he doesn't spend too much time on the fripperies. Things like the aircon, he's not that bothered, it doesn't work. He just wants to keep the car going and enjoy it as a V12. Now the question is, I've been offered this car, should I buy it? Well, long and the short of it is, I can't really buy it because I just don't have £40,000 to spare. At the same time, since Andrew first contacted me, I think he's now decided that he's going to keep it. So please don't think about deluging him with messages about this car, because as things stand at the moment, he's going to keep it. If that changes, I will let you know on posts on Instagram or anything else, but at the moment it looks like this car is staying where it is. Incredible amount of car for the money. Really enjoyed the drive today, and just the story. I love cars with a story. If you know of anything, cars with a story, please get in touch with me on my Instagram. Let me know, and perhaps we can do a video together. If you want to support me, my Patreon link is in the video description. Thank you so much, and I really look forward to seeing you for the next video.